Should be live in a minute.
Okay, I see it now.
We are live now, Mayor Rashid.
Wait, are we live now?
Yes, we are.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. I call to order the meeting of the NVTA Finance Committee for October 15th, 2020. We have a quorum with us today. Unfortunately, Mayor Parrish is not being able to be with us today, so I'm the vice chair and I will be conducting the meeting. We also have with us Chair Randall, Chairman McKay, and Board Member Crystal. Let's see who else we have with us. So welcome, everyone. Mr. Garvey is here now. Welcome, Mr. Garvey. Okay. So moving on, we have the resolution for conducting the October 15th Finance Committee meeting electronically. This having been read at a previous meeting for the Council of Councils, we don't have to read it again. Do we have a motion?
So moved, Chair Randall.
Second, this is Katie Crystal.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Thank you. Next, we have a summary of the minutes for approval. Are there any changes or issues with the meeting minutes? If not, may we have a motion?
Move up, Crystal.
Do we have a second?
I actually don't have those meetings in my hand, so I don't want a second. I might have to abstain because I don't.
McKay will second.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Chair McKay. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
We have only one aye. Is there more than?
I'm looking at them. Okay. Aye. Chair Randall, aye.
Okay. And Chair McKay, were you an aye?
I'm an aye.
Okay. And Board Member Crystal? I didn't hear. Yeah. Okay.
I was
Okay.
an aye as well.
Okay.
I think I
thank
was
you.
the only aye there.
Okay. Thank you. It's a little confusing. I appreciate your patience, everyone. Okay. The minutes are approved. Next, we have the audit presentation. Mr. Garber from TV Mayors, welcome, sir.
Well, I'm here in two different ways. I can see you and I can't hear you. So I've muted my video, but I've caught it on the phone. So hopefully between all of that, you can hear and or see me. So just give me a nod. Yeah, I see a head. Excellent. All right. So I'll leave the video on and just talk into the phone. So thank you. Sorry, my apologies for being a couple minutes late. Zoom I have no problems with, and some of the others, but WebEx I cannot get the video or the sound to come through. But anyway, so you have received a draft of the financial statements for NVTA, and I think a draft of our audit communication letter as well. And just to go over some of the highlights for the audit for your consideration, then for the draft, and then hopefully once that's approved and or answered all of your questions, we can move ahead with finalizing it. So we have
Mr. Garber, if I can interrupt you for just 1 second, I apologize. We have been joined by Senator Boysko. Welcome, Senator. And by Ms. Himes. Welcome, Ms. Himes. Thank you. Go ahead.
Sure, no problem at all. And so we will be rendering an unmodified opinion on the financial statements, which is a clean opinion, as well as an unmodified opinion on internal controls for the authority as well. So that's wonderful. As far as the financial statements themselves, the year was fairly similar to prior year. Obviously, we've added some Interstate 81 funding and receipts within NVTA. And in a comparison, when we look at the Regional Revenue Fund, it's nice to see that we were able to spend more than twice the amount on projects in this fiscal year than we were in the prior year. So I know you're happy to see that we've got these projects and more projects underway there. So that's great to see. The local distribution fund was able to send a little bit more than $4,000 out to the $4 million out to the localities more than last year. So again, that's great to be able to get those funds into your hands and to be able to utilize those on your all special projects as well. So that's great. We continue to, as the authority grows, obviously we participate in the Virginia retirement system and all of those OPEB and retirement plans. And as we add employees, those amounts of liabilities will continue to grow a little bit as we go. And so you'll notice that there is a new footnote this year that discusses one of those OPEB liabilities. Again, it's not a significant amount, but certainly the disclosure, it covers several pages within the document itself. And then one of the last things I do want to mention, and I know it's something that you all look and track often, at the very back of the financial statements, beginning on page, I believe, 78 of your financial, 78, 79, 80, and 81 has the schedule of changes net position by jurisdiction, and it goes over the regional revenue fund and all the projects that we have outstanding. If you want a page down there, you can. It's all the way at the very back. It just lists all of the projects, expenditures to date, expenditures for the current period, and then how much is remaining on those projects. And that ties back then to the available fund balance that we have in that regional fund. So just a great place for a quick synopsis of the projects ongoing, what we've approved there for spending and things of that nature. So I think that's a great schedule that we have added to the back of the financial statements as well. And if you want a quick summary of the whole year financially, I would just draw your attention to the management's discussion and analysis that's in the front of the financials. Another great place to just get a real quick understanding of projects and things that have been advancing through the authority on behalf of all the jurisdictions. Talking just as a general for the audit, we did perform our procedures and audit remotely this year due to COVID, so we were not on site. But I think management and everyone there in the finance group just did a great job of answering our questions, gathering documents for us, providing us the information we needed to do the audit. I think it's on all of our audits, it's probably been a little more time consuming, a little more difficult on the auditee than it has been for us to provide more things electronically. So we really appreciate all of their efforts there. We were not, even with everything that has been going on and working remotely, there were no journal entries this year, no past adjustments, and we did not have any issues related to the audit. Even with changing things around and being remote, we were able to keep controls in place and approvals and things of that nature documented that we needed to keep in place. So I think they have done a great job there with that as well. With that, I don't have anything else to go over at the moment. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have or address any comments.
Thank you, Mr. Garber. This is a great audit, and we want to thank you for your work, and we certainly thank staff of the NVTA for making the great results possible. So let's start with questions.
Chairwoman Rochelle, this is
Yes,
Chair
ma'am.
Ransom. So first of all, Ms. Bachman and Mr. Longi, I'm always impressed with you all. And we have a fairly small staff at NVTA, and to do this level of work to get a nice clean audit is to your credit. So thank you, Mr. Longi. I know you have a staff of about 200 people in there, so that's really very helpful. So is there anything? Two questions. The OPEB increases, was that just because we had some new hires? I know that number is minor, but I'm just curious about the OPEB increases. Is there anything in there in the audit that we should be ready to answer any questions to the credit rating agencies?
I don't know about the credit rating agency. as far as what's in the audit. I don't think that the credit rating agencies, there will be any surprises in what's in this audit when they receive it. Fund balances have increased, and so that's a good thing. But again, your all's goal is very different than what we consider a normal local government, a county, a city, or a town. It's not about necessarily increasing our fund balance. It's about getting these projects funded and spending the money on them. So we're not necessarily looking to increase fund balance. We're looking to use that fund balance in the regional fund and spend that money. And as far as the OPEB numbers and pension liability and things of that nature, sure, it has to do with adding staff. So anytime we add staff, we're always going to add a small amount to our future liability. But it's not a significant increase. I think it's something that any bond rating agency would expect to see. As the markets fluctuate and things of that nature, those numbers are going to go up and down every year.
All right. Thank you very much.
Ma'am.
If I may, Mayor, Chair Rochelle.
Yes, yes.
I thank Chair Randall for the kind words, but I have to point out that the person who did the heavy lifting on this, as she has done in every year since we started with 2313, is Peggy Teal. She's the one that runs the accounting side of things, and it would be improper if I took all the credit and didn't mention that basically the audit result is her hard work with support from Dev. So we do have 200 people in the accounting function, but they're all wrapped up into one Peggy Teal.
Okay, thank you. Chairman McKay, do you have any questions?
Questions. Thank you.
Okay. Board Member Crystal, do you have any questions?
I don't, and I would just like to thank our audit partners for the good and thorough work, especially in this unusual year, as well as recognizing Peggy and Mike. So thank you.
Yeah. Chair Randall, do you have any follow-up? Okay, no follow-up. Okay. Thank you. Excuse me? Did someone speak? Sorry. I might be getting an echo, and I apologize for that. Okay. Thank you again, Mr. Garber. And again, kudos to the NVTA staff. This is fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you all. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you. All right. You have a great day.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to investment portfolio report. Mr. Longi.
Thank you, Mayor Rochelle. I'll be quick, but I do have, I think, some very exciting observations to share with the investment report. And this kind of corresponds pretty well with what you saw in the audit recap. Looking at the first table on the report, you'll actually see that the book value of the portfolio from last month to this month went down. That is not something that would normally excite a CFO. However, I find it personally very exciting. It went down a little over $16 million. And what that means is that we put more money into projects, more project reimbursements got processed. While the month-to-month change is 16 million, the actual change is substantially larger than that because the authority is typically about $12 million a month positive on its cash flow. So the total change there, meaning project disbursements, is a little over 28 million. We've also looked at the pipeline of reimbursements that we are currently processing, currently reviewing, and we have 22.3 million currently under review. And we understand another single reimbursement request is on its way for one of the projects of approximately 10 million. So that would actually mean that for October, we hope to be able to disperse about 32.3 million. So it is rather strange for a CFO to sit in front of his finance committee and say, I'm really happy our cash balances are going down. But I am pleased to report that our cash balances are going down, and that's a good thing because we don't want this money in bonds. We want it in some form of transportation. I will also note that I think a big part of the sudden increase in disbursements can be related to the Policy 29 report that we went through last month. And part of that report, something that the committee and the authority did not get a detailed report on, was the fact that we sent out notices to project sponsors who were in danger of coming into conflict with that project. I think we can pretty much tie a lot of that activity back to the Policy 29 process. Moving to page 2, Deb. If we go to the first table there, if you look at the golden bar at the bottom of the bar graph at the bottom of the first table, you'll see that our 0 to 1 month duration holdings are down. That's reflective of that money leaving for project reimbursements. We have a duration of about 4 months in the portfolio, meaning we've got a very, very short-term portfolio, very strong position in the short term. What that does for us is obviously leave cash available to fund project reimbursements, but also as the market starts to bounce back, we will be in a very good position to respond to that by making investments in hopefully a rising market environment. The small table at the bottom of page 2 shows our comparison to our benchmarks. These are our policy required benchmarks, and you can see that the authority's portfolio is performing really well, double or better in every category. What we are still doing is kind of riding the yield curve down on our holdings with the state LGIP, Local Government Investment Pool, and the Virginia Investment Pool. We are going to be looking to move about $150 million to $200 million towards the end of this month from those funds because their return, quite frankly, is starting to match the market. So we will go into the market with some purchases. Dev, who suddenly has a whole bunch of free time on her hand that she's not filling in for Margaret since our clerk to the board is back from maternity leave, will be shadowing me through this process so that she can learn and experience kind of the portfolio management aspect. One of the things that we are looking at, and I do appreciate the policy changes that were supported by the Finance Committee and adopted by the authority earlier this month, is we are looking to purchase taxable municipals. We are making purchases, Fairfax County with one, and we also are trying to purchase some Commonwealth of Virginia taxable bonds. And the reason taxable bonds are of interest to us is because they pay a higher yield to compensate the bondholder for the tax bill that they're going to have to pay for. But since the authority is a tax-exempt entity, we can just keep that increase in yield. So we'll have a lot of activity on this in the month to come, and I look forward to providing some more results. I do want to note that the audit did recap the earnings for the portfolio for last year. The portfolio earned just under $24 million. So it's a pretty good income stream for the amount of money and time that we do invest in it. And with that, I'd be happy to respond to any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Longi. Are there any questions?
It's Chair Randall. I don't have a question, but it's just such a strange thing to say congratulations for having less money in the account. But congratulations for having less money in the account.
Good sign. Any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none. Let's move on to monthly revenue report. Mr. Longi.
Thank you. Dev, if you could go to attachment A, which is obviously the first attachment behind the staff report for those scrolling through online. You can see some large positive percentages here. To kind of recap, this is really the first month of the fiscal year based on how funds flow from Richmond to the authority. It's definitely too early to make any definitive statements on where we are revenue-wise, but at the same time, there's nothing in here that is jumping out as means for concern or anything else. I do want to note the I-81 revenue and the $20 million transfer, which would have occurred for the first time this fiscal year, are both on hold until the General Assembly special session is done and the state budget is wrapped up. But all indications that we are receiving from Tracy Baynard is that neither one of those are in jeopardy, but obviously the $20 million transfer is a transfer, so it will be $20 million. The I-81 revenue assessment, until we start to see numbers, we can't really make any type of prediction on that. The grantor's tax or regional congestion relief fee, while it is showing up 282% above estimate, again, I think it's way too early to look at those numbers, other than the fact that it's good that we're not seeing any negatives. I will note that we have started to see the sales tax data for October, and it is about 1,300,000 below last year. So, these numbers are going to bounce around for a while, but I don't think there's any cause for concern, or certainly no reason to be changing any of the estimates at this time. And with that, I'd be pleased to respond to any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Lunke. That's certainly not bad news. Okay, are there any questions? Comments?
Senator Boyce.
Yes, ma'am. Senator Boysko, yes.
Hi. So I just wanted to tell you, I'm in Richmond, actually. We are wrapping the special session up. I don't want you all to be surprised that we will not actually pass the final. Well, we're gonna vote on the budget tomorrow, and then the governor will come and formally sign off on it after the election, most likely. Just wanted to give you all that update. So, so you know when the figures will be available.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, if there are no other comments or questions, we'll move on to monthly operating budget report. Mr. Longi.
Likewise, there's no drama here, which is what you want to hear on your operating budget. We are 25% of the way through the year and 20% of the way through the operating budget. There are no lines or anything that are standing out. I do want to briefly mention that at next month's Finance Committee meeting, we will be asking the committee for budget guidance for the formulation of the FY22 budget. So that time of year is starting up. With that, I'll be pleased to take any questions.
Are there any questions for Mr. Longi? Okay, seeing none, hearing none. Are there any other matters that need to come before the Finance Committee? No? Any comments? Okay. Well, seeing none, and excuse me, did someone say something? Okay. Okay, well, if that be the case, then we will adjourn. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for stepping up as chair.